Primavera Avocados is back for the spring and summer season. Grown on a family ranch in Southern California since 1979, these avocados are hand-picked and delivered to your door in perfect condition. You can order a box or sign up for a subscription to save money. Each box includes 4 pounds or 8 to 10 avocados delivered to your door. Order at primaveraavocados.com, Primavera avocados.com. Use promo code TASTE at checkout to get 10% off your order. These avocados are only in season through July, so order now.
My mom worked in the restaurant industry her whole life. She came out with basically 2 bad hips and, a couple hip replacements and a knee replacement. No savings at the end of that, right? Because you get paid a lot in cash. And we wanted to change that. We wanted to change how people were treated. Could you make a career out of the restaurant business instead of just saying, I'm working here just until I get a job?
This is Taste. I'm your host, Matt Rodbard. I'm pretty sure many of you have at least heard of Cava and possibly have ordered lunch or dinner from the wildly popular Mediterranean restaurant chain. On this episode, I have a really cool conversation with Cava's co-founder, Ted Xenohristos. We talk about the company's early days and how Ted's Greek heritage and detail-minded approach has made Cava one of the biggest restaurant stories in years. We talk about the group's broad expansion, how the company's IPO changed everything and nothing at all, and how Ted looks at developing culinary ideas that are accessible, a little exotic, and pretty darn delicious. I hope you enjoy this episode. Ted Xenohristos, welcome to This Is Taste. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on the show.
I'm really excited to talk to you. When I told a few friends I was having one of the co-founders of Cava on the show, eyes lit up. Your brand it resonates. People like what you're doing. So we're going to talk all about your career.
Awesome. This sounds very exciting. Happy to be here and happy to do it.
So I want to ask you first, when you're in New York, you're up from Maryland where you live. Tell me a little bit, where do you like to dine out, in general, just for fun, for research? Where do you like to go?
I mean, coming up to New York is always special for us, right? This is a place, obviously, like growing up, my parents would bring me here for Christmas, and it was a magical place. And so, whenever we come up here, usually I'm going to places that probably, they're not the newest restaurants because I'm not like in the know, but I love like Isodi, and I love the feeling that New York restaurants give you. Like Fort Charles for me is one of my favorite places to go to. And, the food is great. It is what it is, but it's the experience that you have, like walking down those stairs, that like dark, dimly lit feeling, and that New York vibe that you get is really special to me. I mean, I love finding places like that. And those are two probably of my most favorite places to visit.
Those are great spots.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into your career. You started in restaurants, working all the stations and back of house, front of house, and you're a restaurant guy. Even though Cava is at a massive scale now, you still think about it. But when you walk into a restaurant, like, what do you look for as as an operator yourself?
Yeah, it's funny. My wife is always like, "Can you just sit down and enjoy a meal?" Like, I'm walking in, I'm flipping the plates over, I'm looking at the underside of the tables, I'm looking at the kind of linens they use, like how they hung the curtains, what size the bar is, what equipment they have behind it. I think every restaurateur has that inside them. They like go in and they want to see what everyone else is doing, and you're like almost like an investigator going through the space. So.
Yeah. My wife Tamara thinks the same. When I'm walking to restaurants, I'm like looking at menu design, like, wow, why are they making those choices?
Yeah, she's like, stop. What are you doing? I have my phone out. I was like, I'm just Googling this knife brand. I want to see how much this knife costs.
That's so funny. It's so true though, and at the scale of Cava, you're making these decisions at a big level when you're thinking about equipment and all that. All right, I want to get into Cava, for our listeners who maybe haven't stepped in and tried your cuisine. Let me know, like, let me ask you, like, what's in your words? What's Cava's special sauce? What are you doing in those unique spaces?
I think Cava. I started with 2 buddies of mine, and for me, it was all about how we were going to change the restaurant world. We started with one little restaurant, and it was about treating people right and sharing the food that we grew up eating. All our parents are immigrants and came over from Greece, and my mom from Cyprus. And so that's what we're doing. We're sharing that food with people. We're sharing what we call Mediterranean food. And the Mediterranean, many people look at it and define it as a body of water, a piece of land. And when you look at the Mediterranean, you'll see Italy, Portugal, Spain, all these different countries that surround it. But we're really talking about this place on the eastern side of the Mediterranean, this so-called Levant, Greece, Turkey, Israel, Lebanon, down and even the northern African coast. And we're using those spices, those flavors that are so different from what American food is, or even Asian food or Italian or French. And we're using that to make simple quality ingredients just taste amazing, right? We're taking something as simple as like chicken and putting harissa and honey on it and getting that like sweet and spicy flavor. And not everybody knows what harissa is, but people know what chicken and honey is, right? And so we're infusing that and we're calling that Mediterranean. I grew up eating this food, this tzatziki, lamb, hummus. I mean, these things that are naturally healthy for you, which is, this, the Mediterranean diet has been ranked the healthiest 8 years in a row. And it's funny, when we first started, I actually didn't think about it as healthy. We were just creating this food that was what we grew up eating. And, it was pointed out to me, like, you guys have a healthy menu. I was like, I didn't even realize what we were kind of doing. So it's very natural to the Mediterranean itself. And so, I think we're building a brand that is defining what Mediterranean is. It's a growing category. And I think it's the next big cuisine, followed by, there was Mexican, there was Italian, and I think Mediterranean is up next.
Yeah, it really dovetails with some of the work we do at Taste on the show and in the writing. We've been covering, products like za'atar, amba. These products are starting to become so common in cookbooks, not just in Mediterranean books or other books, but really like general books are using them. Let me ask you, like, when cooking with these products, what does it allow you to do? Like, what's the magic trick there?
I think it allows you to look, Greek cuisine and Mediterranean cuisine is simple, right? It's not technique driven like the French and the Italians and the Japanese. It's all about the ingredients. It's taking simple, whole foods, whole heads of cauliflower, chicken, as I spoke about before, yogurt, and then really spicing them up with these spices. And so you're taking like something like za'atar, you put that on yogurt with some olive oil, boom, it's a completely different dish, right? And it's got that, like, those wonderful flavors, but still approachable in the sense of that it's just yogurt. And so we're doing that across the board with everything that we do. We're doing that with chicken, with lamb, with our falafel, with our roasted veggies. And really, I think that those spices are the pillars of what we're doing at Cava.
Take me back to 2006. I mean, you're running a restaurant with some friends, and you have one restaurant. It's popular. It really starts out like with a bang. It's a really big place, but it's one restaurant. I want to ask you, like, did you realize back then at that time that you were onto something that could be scaled, using that term, wide? I mean, how many locations do you have now?
Now we're about a 350, 352, something like that.
What are you thinking these dishes could be in 350 restaurants?
No, absolutely not. I mean, if I'm being very honest, we started that restaurant. I was a waiter. My other buddy Ike was a waiter, and Dimitri was a chef, and the three of us really just wanted to share the food we grew up eating. I think when you went around looking for Greek Mediterranean food, you saw a lot of like gyros and pasticcio, moussaka, and those are all great foods. I love them, but there's so much more to what they're doing in the Mediterranean in these countries, and so we really wanted to share that. And again, we wanted to take care of people. My mom worked in the restaurant industry her whole life. She came out with basically 2 bad hips and a couple hip replacements and a knee replacement. No savings at the end of that, right? Because you get paid a lot in cash, and we wanted to change that. We wanted to change how people were treated. Could you make a career out of the restaurant business instead of just saying, "Oh, I'm working here just until I get a job," right? I've heard that so many times. I've said that so many times. So, we started that because we had a passion for hospitality, for taking care of people. And it was at Little Place in Rockville, Maryland. If you visit it today, it's in a shopping center that is 45 minutes to an hour outside of DC. It's about 1,500 square feet, and it costs us, I don't know, about 25 grand to open. So it was a little magical place.
Yeah, and it still operates today?
It still operates today. It's a full-service restaurant. It's been there for 18 years.
Is it called Cava?
It's called Cava Meze.
Okay.
So we did all small plates,
Oh, cool.
similar. Like we did like lamb chops, scallops, tzatziki. A lot of the stuff you see on our menu today was born out of that full service restaurant. So
That's cool. I feel like I want to go check out like Ground Zero for Cava.
you have to. I mean, I think it's almost like a pilgrimage. It's got
Yeah.
all our family photos on the walls.
Fun.
We built it all by hand. You'll see it was an old Russian bakery, and before that, it was a floor store. So they sold different kinds of flooring. And so when we took over, there was red tile over here, green tile over there, and we had to like tear up all this tile. We got so tired of tearing it up. When we got to the bar area, we ended up just leaving the tiles. So if you get a sneak peek behind the bar, you'll see some of the different colored tiles that were left over from the tile store.
Let it be if it looks cool. Now, let's talk about expansion. You go from 1 to 350. It's obviously not overnight, but in some terms, in some sense, it was. It feels like all of a sudden Cava is in lots of suburbs, new developments. It's in like near airports. I feel like on the East Coast, at least, it's pervasive. It's part of our dining culture. How did you get there? Not to go all how we built this, because that's not really the show, but how did you like grow it so quickly?
Man, it seems like you said, like it happened overnight. It's as you're working and you're grinding away, you don't think about like all the moments. But when you look back, we obviously built the first restaurant in Bethesda, and we built a second one, and we actually were losing money, and it wasn't going well. And we had to go back to our investors, and they didn't want to invest anymore. They actually wanted their money back. And we had to take out a loan and continue forward. And then all of a sudden, we started gaining this traction. We started selling our dips and spreads in grocery stores. We had 3 full-service restaurants at that time and 3 fast casuals, and the name Cava started to resonate with people. And that's where we were going out, and we were able to raise a little bit more money and expand. And, we went to LA, which I moved to expand, and then came New York, and then, city after city. And then we bought the Zoe's brand, which was 250 restaurants. I think we had 80 at the time.
Okay.
And that added that took us to like 300 something restaurants. Of course, they were Zoe's and Cava, and we were running 2 restaurants brands. And that was a lot to work through. But, and once we worked through that, we ended up getting to a point where I think we had like 200 something, and we did the IPO, and here we are today. I mean, it's crazy. It seemed like it all happened like overnight, but there were you're just in the grind. You're just doing so much that you forget about the time that's passing by. It's crazy.
I mean, I have to ask you about IPO. You bring it up, and I asked this. I asked Nick Jamay this question from Sweetgreen, another company that IPOs, and really, if you know anything about IPOs, is like they don't happen. Like especially for restaurants, like you always are trying to strive towards that, or many operators. But really, you're there. You're doing the IPO. What does it feel like now to have this really like corporate responsibility? You have to be transparent. Yeah. How do you keep it like lean and small, but you've got these quarterly earnings that you have to deal with every quarter? It's got to be tricky.
Yeah. I mean, look, we have the business part of things, right? And I have a great partner and CEO in Brett Schulman, who is a great leader and does a great job on that business side of things. I think when we set out to do the IPO, there weren't many companies IPOing at the time. I think it pretty much came to a halt. And we felt good about what we had. We felt good about sharing with people, allowing people to invest in it. We really wanted that. We had so many people over the years invest. I've had servers that worked for me at my full-service restaurant, bartenders who all invested, family members, uncles, best friends, and they've all made great money off it, which is awesome to see, right? And we wanted to allow our team members to be able to do that and expand on that. So when we did the IPO, we just felt good about our brand. We're like, I don't think there's going to be a great time to go. And we felt good about what Cava represented, and we went out and did it. And look, my job here, in all honesty, at Cava is Chief Concept Officer. I feel like I'm here to protect and make sure that the food stays what it is. We started with these whole ingredients, with fresh quality ingredients. We started by making things in-house. And I want to keep that ethos. I don't want to lose that. And so my job is to make sure we find ways to make it easier to operate these restaurants for our team members, but still serve that amazing food that's good for you, that's healthy, that also tastes good.
It seems like, Ted, you've made a really focused effort to open in the suburbs. And it's for the ego. It's nice to open in, New York. You have a location in Soho, so you have some spots. But really, you're kind of operating relatively anonymously for food writers and people who cover the industry who live in urban centers. But on the flip side, you were really going for an underserved audience. What was the strategy about the suburbs?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the suburbs. I'm a suburbs guy. I'm not a big city guy. I love New York. I love DC. I love LA. I love the cities themselves. I love the hustle and bustle and the liveliness and the food scene in those places. But our first restaurant, like I said, was 45 minutes outside of DC. And I live there. So I know that there's people that want to eat good food. They want to eat at the same restaurants that are downtown, that are in the city, and I didn't have access to those living in the suburbs. And that's one of the reasons we opened that restaurant. And we continue doing that with the Cava brand. We have something called the Coastal Smile.
Fun.
We did DC, we did LA, and then both those came like kind of south, one coming west, one coming east, and met in Texas and created like a smile on the bottom side of the United States. And we just filled in all those places where people wanted to eat good quality food and feel like they're going out to a restaurant that's maybe not a fast food place, and which is filled in the suburbs, right? You got lots of fast food in the suburbs. You have lots of chains in the suburbs, and they serve their purpose. But we wanted to give people an alternative, and I think it's worked great for us.
Attention New York City listeners, I'm excited to share 2 upcoming live This Is Taste tapings that I think you're going to like, taking place at Rizzoli Bookstore in Manhattan's Flatiron District. On April 8th, I will be joined by Barbara Costello, better known through her Brunch with Babs social accounts. We will be talking about her brand new cookbook, Cooking with Babs. And on May 5th, I will be joined by photographer and journalist Craig Maud for a reading and conversation about his debut memoir, Things Become Other Things. I love this book so much and welcome you all in to hear his story about walking around Japan and so much more. Tickets are available at the Rizzoli website, rizzolibookstore.com. I hope to see you there. Give me a market, like maybe an unexpected market where Cava enters the conversation, enters the chat, and it just like it changes the way that city is eating. It's done really well for you. I'd be curious.
In terms of like a suburb, or
suburb. Yeah.
So I'll use one near my house because it's over an hour outside of DC. I have some family members that live there. Frederick, Maryland. It's in you got to cross through a few counties in Maryland to get north of the city itself, and a lot of those people work in DC. It's a long drive. It's an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours with traffic, and some of them were born and raised in DC. They live there, so they know restaurants, they know good food, and they've moved out there to start families. They've moved out there for schools or housing, whatever it is. And so when we open up there, the excitement that begins, and you start seeing it in like the neighborhood, Facebook places, and you start seeing it on like local newspapers and blogs. Excitement builds, and we open a restaurant there, and the lines can be an hour long.
Wow!
In terms of waiting for that first day that it opens. I've seen that happen in Fredericksburg, in Frederick, Maryland. We've seen it happen in Bluffton, South Carolina, and so it's exciting for people. It's almost as if, I don't know, if you remember when Shake Shack opened up in LA and it was going crazy out there, or if it would be like an In-N-Out came to DC, probably people would line up. And it's something special that people hear about. They know it's in LA, they know it's in New York, but now it's in Bluffton, now it's in Frederick, Maryland. It's really cool, and we love sharing that with them.
What's the menu item that draws these lines? I mean, we had the Shack Burger, right? Everyone wanted that. Now Cava has a different menu. You can really combine flavors. You can order pre-set menu items, or you can like mix it up. Like what's like, give our listeners a sense of like what are these like big hit dishes at Cava?
Yeah, I think the most popular bowl that we have is the Xenohristos avocado bowl. It is our chicken. We bring in fresh chicken. We marinate it. We season it. We grill it. We grill with fire, right? We're not cooking this in ovens. We are really grilling. And then we're taking that and tossing it. The marinade has harissa, which is like a spicy tomato paste from Morocco. And then we cover that in honey and give it a nice toss. And it is, you put it in the bowl, you put it with avocados, you put it with all the different toppings and sauces that we have. And the flavors are just out of this world, but they're approachable. People know what chicken is. They know what avocado is.
Yeah.
They know what rice is, right? They know what the greens are. And so I think that's what makes it popular. It's this adventurous, this opportunity to become adventurous. It's like these enchanting spices and flavors that you hear. You're like harissa, Aleppo, sumac, and blended with avocados and chicken, cherry tomatoes, cucumbers. And I think that's what makes them exciting and why people love them.
And it really eschews dairy for the most part. You've got lots of cheese, obviously, that's important, but it's not like a lot of butter, right? And I think what's the perception of this Mediterranean cuisine is that you're not cooking with a lot of dairy.
And just like our first ever restaurant, no butter, no freezers, no microwaves. We are talking about fresh. We're bringing in fresh ground lamb. We are making our lamb meatballs from scratch. We're bringing fresh chicken every day. We're making our falafel by hand every day. These kitchens are tough to operate. They're not easy.
Yeah.
Our team members work really hard to execute. And there's nothing more that I love than going into a restaurant and working with the team when they're so proud of making these things. Sometimes we're like, hey, what can I make easier for you? Can I simplify this? Could we bring in, a pre-made version of something? And they're like, no, we want to make it.
Yeah.
They're proud of making it, and it's really awesome to see.
I'm into that. I think there's a real pride in the restaurants. I've seen it in a couple spots. And let me ask you, Ted, like as the chief concept officer, you're thinking about these big ideas. You're thinking about execution. You've got 350 spots. Are you sleeping at night? Because honestly, man, that's a complicated business with one unit.
Yeah.
And you've got 350. How do you square quality control?
Look, I grew up, middle class. My parents working class. My mom was a waitress. My dad worked in construction. I didn't have much. I paid my own way through college. I never graduated, but I paid my way through the years I went. And so I never really had much. Everything I had, I slept on the floor in college. I lived a very simple life. So people always ask me, like, when do you feel like you've made it? When do you feel like, I don't know. I never feel like I've made it. I feel like we're always continuing to build something. And so, like, I actually sleep well. I sleep well because I trust the people that work for the company. I trust the team members in the restaurants. And of course, you're always working hard to support them and figure out ways to make it easier for them to operate. Like, how do I make sure that the lamb meatballs in Bethesda are made the same in Culver City and same down in Austin, Texas, and now in Chicago, right? And that probably keeps me up more than anything. Like, how do we get that consistency? But we have an amazing, learning and development team. We have an amazing training team. I have to trust all the people that work for Cava, and we do, and they do a great job in training people, in teaching people how to make things right. But then on top of that, we add this layer of, we have a great background, a team of chefs that we create this thing called it's a program where we teach them chef skills, right? So we'll go into the restaurant sometimes and say, like, hey, here's mise en place, right? And like maybe someone working at a Cava has never heard of mise en place because they've never worked at a really nice restaurant, but we teach them the chef language part of it and teach them the little tricks of the trade that could help make that food better. Like, don't overwork your falafel because the dough will be gummy. So there's lots and lots of layers, and it never ends. You can never stop adding those layers in to continue with quality.
Now, McDonald's suffered from a major foodborne illness outbreak at the end of last year. And, Cava's had struggles as well as any restaurant has at a big scale. How do you think about food safety?
I think it's super important to us. I mean, my children eat at Cava, so obviously you want them to eat at a place that's super safe. And we've made significant investments into food safety, training investments, financial investments, whether it's equipment or ways that we teach our teams. And so I think we currently have all A's in New York, something we're very proud of.
Nice.
Yeah. And I think across the country, we continue to kind of reinforce food safety as a top priority. I think many times, for example, I opened my first restaurant. As a restaurateur, you're thinking about, like, how do I get customers? how do I, price this food right? How do I pay people the right amount of money to make money? And you're thinking about always making money. And in the first restaurant, you start to think about maybe food safety is not like at the top of your mind, but I could tell you, Cava right now, it's a top priority. I would say that it's food safety, quality control are all like the top thing that we're working on as a group.
Well, it all comes crashing down if you don't get this right.
I mean, we've seen that before.
We've seen it many times in our history, and especially as a publicly traded company, you got to be really careful about that.
I mean, can you imagine, like, we worked so hard, we get to this point, I'm telling this awesome story, it's so wonderful, and all the team members that rely on this business and their families and all the things that they have as part of working at Cava, the healthcare they have, all those things would come crashing down if we start getting people sick. So it is a number one top priority for us.
Let's talk about pricing, because I think when you look at menus today, be it at a fine dining restaurant all the way down to fast food, the price is really affecting us. And we're seeing these numbers that we were certainly not used to even 5 years ago. Cava falls in a really unique place because you're not fast food. Mm-hmm. You're not a seated fine dining restaurant. You're somewhere in between. But how do you think about pricing your menu items? And also, of course, the economics of it all. Costs of goods have skyrocketed. Labor as well has increased due to state regulation and just like generally increasing need for higher minimum wages. So how does that work for you in trying to sell your customers on paying $43 at Cava for a couple dishes?
Yeah, look, I think it's all about value, right? I think we source our lamb from small ranchers, and we get the exact grind we want. We source our olive oil from Greece. We source our lentils from Montana. We go to these great quality driven suppliers. And so those things are not cheap. And we try to make sure that we keep costs down from the consumer side. Like, I know people are willing to pay for those things, but only to a certain extent. I think for the last 2 years, 3 years that we've seen this supply chain, the craziness of that, we haven't raised prices at Cava. We've been one of the only companies to hold the line, and we've done a great job through our supply chain team, all the while investing in wages for our team members. So I think you go down the line at Cava, I think some of the things that differentiate us from other brands is you go through the toppings, you have unlimited toppings, and people see the value in that, right? They say, okay, I'm going to pay $10, $11, $12 for a bowl. And my wife says it all the time. She's like, I get a bowl and I eat it for lunch and then I have the other half for dinner,
right? A lot of people do that. A lot of people do that.
Yeah, I think we're giving a good amount of food that is people see the value prop in it. They understand it. They see the quality of the food. The price tag isn't, $5, but it's $12 and you're getting a meal with wholesome quality ingredients that some people make 2 meals out of. So
yeah. So what does expansion look like? I mean, you're at 350 now. You clearly have big plans for growth. Are you just looking at real estate constantly? Do you have that meeting on your calendar like every few days?
So, I mean, we just opened Chicago, which was so fun, right?
First time in the city?
Yeah, we did. Wow. We did Wicker Park, and we have a couple other locations popping up there in the suburbs and down closer in the city in the Loop, and it's so exciting because Chicago has a big Greek population, right? And I grew up going to the parade there. There's a Greek museum there. Every time we go, we see it. And so we've always wanted to go to Chicago. They've always been asking us to come. And so it was so exciting. I went, and this wasn't like a free food day. This was like opening day where we were actually charging, and there was like a 2-hour wait that went all the way around the block. It was really, really amazing to see. We had to shut down the digital order lines. Damn. We had built a catering kitchen in there, and we were like, no caterings today. It was crazy to see the response that we got. And so when we look at real estate and we look at all the places that we want to go, we're looking at like South Florida, for example. We just want to make sure we do it right. The last thing you want to do is, like you said, you want to control your quality. You want to be food safety is an issue. You want to make sure you hire the right people. And so we like to enter a market when all that stuff is ready to go. And so we have the right people in place. We have our supply chain right. I mean, when we opened up Chicago, we had to bring in every single item on our menu from that supplier in Chicago.
Yeah.
And then remake all those recipes in our culinary kitchen. This took us weeks, months Think about making every single recipe down to the salt.
Yeah.
And so you want to make sure you enter a market right, but we're excited. I mean, Chicago was awesome for us. We're looking at South Florida.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking to expand. We want to have 1,000 restaurants by 2032.
There's the number. Yeah. I was wondering. That's a big number. So that's like 3x, in less than 10 years.
It's exciting. For me, I'm so excited. It's like,
yeah.
I started out this little tiny restaurant in Rockville, Maryland, and I see it and I'm in awe of all the people that at Cava doing what they do to expand this place. A restaurant opens and almost every day now, it's like every 3 days, there's like a restaurant opening at Cava, and I'm in awe of all the work because I'm not doing that. I mean, if anybody thinks that I'm doing that, that's crazy, right? There are so many people that do so much work. And sometimes a restaurant opens, I didn't even know it was going to open. But it's still so exciting, and it's so cool to see. And I was actually coming up here, and I saw last night, and I saw people with bags from Cava, like seeing
great bags, man.
Yeah,
yellow,
I love it.
Yeah.
I still get emotional. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Like as if like we were just running that first restaurant back in 2006.
Very cool. I got to ask you about protein because it's clearly important right now in our diets, and we think about it a lot. We talk about it on the show a bit. With GLP-1 drugs being so popular and prevalent, and protein and really nutrient-rich cooking is key. How do you think of this? I mean, it feels like it's probably a tailwind, I would think, for Cava. But I'd love to get your take about this idea, like the protein age that we live in.
Yeah, it is a tailwind. I mean, we recently launched steak. I think a year and a half ago, which was a huge boom for us. Everybody was, since we had gotten rid of grilled meatballs, which were beef meatballs, everybody was asking for some kind of beef option. And, it took us 2 years to launch that steak item because we wanted to do it right. But we got chicken, like you said, lentils on the line. So it's not, I think a big part of what people come to Cava for is the flexitarian option. I can get chicken, I can get lentils, I can get veggies and steak. I don't have to just be a straight meat eater. I don't have to be just a vegan eater, but we have those too, right? We got the guy that comes in and gets the double steak, and the person who comes in gets the double veggies, and then the person that comes in and mixes those together. But you're right, it's a tailwind for us. We have lots of foods on our line that are natural in terms of whole ingredients that have protein in them, like the lentils, chickpeas, and then you talk about the actual proteins like steak and chicken that we have is a big part of the diet, the Mediterranean diet. And we're still innovating. We have lots of stuff that we're innovating.
What's on the vision board right now? You got to give me a little bit of a hint of a menu item that you're thinking about.
We're always thinking about everything.
Okay,
it's hard for me to. I can't let the cat out of the bag.
I know.
If you think about what's missing on the line, you could probably put it together. I mean, something that we've looked at very closely, and I just give you a big category is like seafood in general.
I was gonna say that,
and how it will fit in the line, and will it work? Right, like. You want to make sure that you're not, obviously you can't throw something on the grill because you have people with shellfish allergies or seafood allergies, and so you can't mix that stuff. So we take all that very seriously. We obviously don't bring in nuts since, nuts are a big part of the Mediterranean diet, but we don't bring them in because of the nut allergy. And so many people love us and come to us for that. And so as we look to innovate, we want to make sure that we're doing it in the right way.
Ted, on This Is Taste, we ask guests about their discerning taste. So to close this interview, here's a little rapid-fire, fast and furious taste check. Are you ready?
Okay.
The best fruit.
Kiwi.
Tell me about a great kiwi. I love that one. What makes it so great?
I love kiwi. I don't know why. And I'm so lazy to peel it sometimes. And I go into Whole Foods sometimes and buy the already peeled one. And I love the sourness of it, the sweetness, the bite that you get. When it's, a little bit on the harder side and you're getting that middle bite, I don't know why. I'm enamored with kiwi. It's something I really, really love. I've tried to make juice out of it. It's not that good, but
it's tough. But like a meat marinade.
Pretty
amazing meat marinade.
Yeah, I've never used it like that. Yeah. I literally, sometimes my wife will see me. It'll be like 11 o'clock at night and I'm sitting over a trash can like peeling kiwis and just eating 3 of them a night.
So good. The worst vegetable.
Okra.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And it's a big part of the Mediterranean diet. My mom makes it. She makes it and I want to eat it. She braises it in this beautiful tomato sauce. It's so mushy and I just can't get behind it.
Yeah. What is your typical breakfast?
So my olive oil fried eggs, So
Yeah.
putting that olive oil in there, frying those eggs, salt, pepper, tons of oregano. It's funny, my 4-year-old son loves them that way now too. Obviously, you got to have some feta cheese in that, and slice of bread is typical for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sunny side up, I imagine?
Oh, yeah. All sunny side up,
Always
just like crispy at the bottom.
Yep.
Like, I just let them sit in that olive oil until they're just like all the way brown and crispy. They're curling up. They're
God,
so crispy.
the olive oil egg. I mean, I love myself a French omelet with a little bit of butter, but olive oil egg, pretty great.
Well, and it's I don't know, the amount of olive oil I'm putting in there, I'm not sure if it's healthy anymore, but it feels so much better than, I love omelets, and I love butter, and I love all that stuff, but like it feels like a good start to my day to have a little feta cheese and some fried eggs.
The best dessert.
Ooh, that's a tricky one. I mean, for me, it's a Greek one. It's galaktobouriko. It's a tough one to pronounce. It's a custardy, creamy, milky center, wrapped in phyllo dough, baked in the oven, topped with cinnamon and sugar. And when you get it in Greece, especially in Greece, when you get it, they serve it warm, which is amazing. We used to come up to New York all the time and go out to Astoria and all the Greek cafes that were lined up there. It was like Avenue Grand, Athens Cafe.
Sure.
Sit and have a Greek coffee, and galaktobouriko was one of my favorite things.
When you are craving fast food, and Cava's not that, so I'm being clear, where do you go?
I mean, I'm going to be very honest. It's McDonald's. I mean, if I'm craving fast food, I try not to eat it when you're on the road, and like I said, there's no Cava around, and you need a quick meal, and drive-throughs there, or in the morning, that 8 a.m., you need that something to just get you going. It's definitely McDonald's for me. I think they beat all the rest.
What's the order then? Or one item?
For me, quarter pounder with cheese. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to, I obviously don't get, I don't eat that all the time, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to eat that all the time.
No.
You feel, as soon as you eat it, you're like, oh my God, what did I do to myself?
Yeah.
But if I'm choosing fast food, I'm definitely choosing McDonald's.
Yeah. QPC, I'm all about that. I'm with you on that order. Your favorite city to visit outside America for food?
I'm biased for this, and I'm actually heading there in 2 weeks, but Athens, Greece. We're taking our whole culinary team there in 2 weeks, which is super exciting. And you just get this, infused kind of meeting of East and West there. And you've had, in Athens lately, you've had this big influx of immigrants come in. And so you're seeing the food scene change there a lot. And so you're seeing some of the classical kind of like simple Greek cuisine infused with Turkish, Lebanese, Syrian. And so it's really, really exciting what's going on there right now.
Man, I had such a good time in Athens last summer.
Yeah.
Really, really, really cool. Between like the coffee,
it's amazing.
the seafood, the small restaurants, the big restaurants.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful city for food.
I love telling people about it, but like I don't want them to discover it and fill it up, and so that it turns into one of these like touristy trapped. I know a lot of people go there and see the Parthenon and the Acropolis and all that, but it's really the small neighborhoods that you're really getting to find these awesome restaurants.
Oh my God, I had some great picks, and Kukavaya is the place.
Kukavaya is amazing.
Good.
I've been many times. I think one of my favorite things that they do, so whenever I'm sick, and I have a good memory of this, my mom makes this soup called avgolemono, and it's basically egg, lemon mixed with, chicken broth, rice, and they make a version from scratch.
Yeah.
And the waiter was telling us about it, and we're like, how do you make avgolemono from scratch? It's so time consuming. And it was don't tell my mom, but it was the greatest avgolemono soup I've ever had in my life.
Oh man, I'm looking on my phone at photos as we're speaking.
Oh, it's amazing.
I'm loving that city.
I've been many times to Kukuvaya. It's a must visit when going to Athens.
Yeah. Really good spot. Last one, your favorite sandwich?
My favorite sandwich is Italian cold cut. I mean, I'm a huge fan. I love going to Charleston. There's a place called Porchetta Shop there. Yeah. And, they do obviously porchetta, and they do prime rib sandwiches, all of those things I love, but they do it with mortadella, prosciutto, salami, and obviously burrata cheese. And it's just so, so good. They make the bread in-house. I'm a huge, huge fan of the Italian cold cuts.
Yeah. Great call. Any mayo or only Italian olive oil and vinegar on it? What do you put on it?
It just depends where I'm eating it at. If it's a place like that, I'm going with the, the vinaigrette, the time. But, I'm never one to say no to mayo on an Italian coconut.
Ted, what a great conversation. Thank you so much for joining This Is Taste.
Thank you, Matt. I really enjoyed it. Appreciate it.
Alexandra Metz, welcome to This Is Taste. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you. How are you?
Oh, I'm really good. I just got to tell a little story. It started with an Instagram handle, Metzaball Soup. I've been, of course, watching your incredible show, The Pit, and just like absolutely loving it, and just the ensemble cast, and it's we'll get into it. But tell me, what's the genesis of the handle? What made you do that out of all the names?
Well, obviously, my last name is Metz, and I am a food lover. I love matzo ball soup. I'm from New York. I'm from Manhattan. So my paternal side is Jewish. My grandfather is the first American of Polish immigrants. And so his parents taught him all about Polish food. And basically, I'm Jewish in blood and in culture. I'm a bagels and lox Jew from New York. But I'm Latina. I'm Afro-Latina on my mother's side. So I grew up eating so many wonderful things, rices and beans and stewed meats and so many great things that I wrote my college entrance essay about how much I love food.
Oh, wow.
I've been surrounded as a New Yorker and someone who grew up around all the best food with food that I cannot stop talking about. So this can be a more perfect bond between this podcast and me.
Yeah, I wanted to have you on because I knew we share a mutual friend, Jamie Feldmar, too, and she's a great food writer and a friend. Tell me what's like the table like at your house for the bagel order, and second part is, growing up in Manhattan, I just gotta what are your restaurants? Where are you going out?
In New York, oh my God. I mean, the turnover is so fast in New York, I'm sure, as you know. And I live in LA. I have for the last roughly like 12 years. So I don't even know what's cool in New York. My favorite restaurant is 11 Madison Park, if someone else is treating me, because it's just such a glorious experience and so innovative and truly, I think, lives up to the hype. And in terms of like the go-tos in New York growing up, I mean, the first memory that comes to mind is I'd go to the beauty salon, the Dominican beauty salons that my mom would go to get her hair done. And they would have people come through with little coolers filled with empanadas they had made, or like little habichuela con dulce, which is like a sweet bean dish that, in the winter, it's just exactly what you want. And they'd just be serving that stuff as you sit in the salon. As a child who had nothing to do in the salon but wait for my mom to be done, it was what I would look forward to. And then it was always just top quality home cooking.
Yeah. I mean, were you yourself in the kitchen? Were you cooking yourself?
I would let the adults do that. I was always curious and interested. And then I remember, I think it was like 6th grade or 7th grade, where I had a home ec class, and we cooked something in that class. And I remember we started with, very simply, as most dishes start with, chopped onions, sauteing that, and thinking, wait, the smells are already happening. The dish is already done. This is it. This is where it begins and this is where it ends. And I realized, oh my God, if it's that simple, then I can do this. So I went home that day and I told my mom, it's like, I want to start getting more involved and watching you cook. I became a lot more invested in that side of it. Before, I was just waiting at the table with my fork and my knife up, waiting. Always talking about what is the next meal going to be. Like, I'm that child. My family would be like, oh my God, we are in the middle of breakfast. Why are you asking about dinner?
I feel like a lot of our listeners can relate to that feeling.
Oh, yeah.
Of course. Now, in LA, I mean, every LA guest we speak with, has their takes, has the locals, has their new spots. Where do you like to go in LA right now, restaurant-wise?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't go out a whole lot. Mostly because I'm on a very specific diet for treating of endometriosis that I've been dealing with for many years, and diet is a big part of dealing with that. So it's no fun to be restrained limited in my choices. But that's where I am currently. But when I dream and when I have a cheat day, because occasionally that has to happen just for my sanity, my go-tos are pine and crane.
Oh, yeah.
It's just never missed a beat. Like I feel so many restaurants, especially when they blow up, they can kind of lose quality. I imagine quality control is a really hard thing, and just running a restaurant is there's so many aspects to it, the business itself, that some things can fall by the wayside, and unfortunately the food is often that. But pine and crane is just always amazing, and I have my I do this thing where my husband's gluten free, so he can't really eat anything from there. So when I go, I'm like, well, I'm gonna just order basically the whole menu, and then I'll have things in the refrigerator that I can, mix and match. So I have the mushrooms, and I have the jadori chicken, and I have the pork buns, and I have the wonton soup. I'm just fully just my fridge is stacked with pine and crane when I go.
What a great restaurant. I love that you called it out. It's and such a well said point. When places do fall off when they're buzzy, and that place was buzzy like a decade ago, maybe, and it's not fallen off. That's a great check in at Pine and Crane. So with yourself not going out a lot for meals, you must be pretty nice in the kitchen right now.
I'm pretty nice.
Yeah.
I'd say so. I think everything starts with good ingredients. So I love going to the grocery store. Like the experience of the kitchen starts in the grocery store for me, or in a garden if I have that privilege. And picking out the best ingredients and seeing what's fresh, and grass-fed meats and good produce. And then once I'm in the kitchen, sometimes I'll just riff, but often I'll be looking at New York Times's app, the cooking app, and I have a couple of recipe books that I'll kind of peek at, but really it's New York Times, or I'll ask a family member or friend what they're cooking lately and get some intel.
Love that Times app. You got a lot of stars. You got a lot. Your recipe book is filled of Times recipes.
Oh my God. Yeah. And I'm always reading the comments. Like I get so involved. I'm like, oh, interesting. This person had this take on it.
Yeah.
And, actually that's more my style anyways. And I think that's what I'm going to work with. This person's note is actually really helpful.
Yeah, I love that part
I
about
like it's
that.
community driven.
It really is. And a lot of recipes can have great swaps, especially if you're going like meat free, or if you want to, swap it.
Gluten
free. Exactly.
Yeah.
Gluten free. Well, I really wanted to talk about the show. You star as Dr. Yolanda Garcia on The Pit. And again, it's been called the most realistic medical drama. I have a couple of doctors in my life. I've been sending them questions. They've been like, yeah, there's some stuff in there. That's real. What was auditioning like, and how did you find yourself on this show?
Auditioning was kind of simpler than one would imagine for a show of this caliber. I got the audition. I found out I think it was the last day of May, that I would have a self-tape due in the next week. And so I submitted that tape the first week of June. And then I was in New York visiting my grandfather, who's 102. We often go out to meals, and we'll go to sushi. And we were sitting at our favorite sushi place, having our shumai and all the things he loves. And my manager called me and said, hey, the day after you get back from New York, you have a callback for The Pit. And I was like, cool. Yep. And he was like, and I was like, yeah, I just felt like there was a immediate connection and a knowing of this character and the work that it was asking me to do, that I wasn't surprised. And then I was obviously excited, but I didn't want to hype myself up too much. I just wanted to stay in that vein of like, okay, cool. I'm just going to go back to work and do what I did the first time, and, take whatever notes they give me in that callback and go from there. And the callback was on Zoom. It was with John Wells and the casting team, and he directed the first episode. And obviously is an executive producer on the show, and so many other shows that preceded his reputation precedes him beautifully. And I couldn't believe how down to earth and kind. And I mean, I could believe it, but you don't know what you're going to walk into in a room like this. And he just was so welcoming immediately. And I did the take, and he was like, great. And
yeah, you did a scene, and he's like, great.
No notes.
Great. Yeah, no
notes. And then we did the second scene, and he was like, you could see that he was really pleased and that was pleasing to me because I've been in a lot of rooms like this. And sometimes, even if
Yeah.
you're giving your best and you're doing a great job, it's just not what they're looking for. Um, there's so many factors, obviously. So he was just like, can you just do it again? I just want to try this one thing out just for fun. And he gave me a fun note and I had a great time with it. And then he was like, cool. He just shrugged his shoulders like, yep, that's it. And I was like, okay, well, thanks so much. And then I heard an hour later that I was the creative favorite, which happened really, really
That's a
quickly.
great way to phrase it. Is that parlance in acting, the creative favorite?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ah.
So there's the creatives and then there's the network and the studio. And so after that, you're just waiting for the network and the studio to give you the green light to be part of this dream project. So I was really patient for maybe, I think it was like 1 or 2 days before I found out. I had missed a call from my manager and I was like trying to be so patient that I was off my phone. And then I texted him, the floodgate broke and I was like, I can't wait any longer. You can't make me wait through the weekend. And he was like, I called you like 10 minutes ago. Did you see? And then that's when he told me that I booked it.
When you're preparing for the role, I mean, it is, and you got to watch the show, listeners. It is incredible if you're a fan of ER. This is taking it up several notches, and it's on, not on network TV, so they can do a lot of cool things. What are you doing in terms of getting ready to become a doctor and really get the movements right? Because I think you do such a great job, all of you in the cast, selling it hard that you are doctors, you are not actors.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, just a little tidbit. I was in an 8-year medical program at my college. I
What?
only ended up doing the undergrad portion. I didn't end up going to the medical school. I went to Brown and they have a program called the Program for Liberal Medical Education. And it basically you apply as a high schooler. And I got in. My sister also went through that program, so she was a few years ahead of me. And I knew I didn't want to be a doctor, but I loved all the things that I got to study on that journey. Not to say that I remembered any of it, but I was already, in that on that journey at one point. And so because of that, I have a lot of friends who did finish that program, are now amazing doctors, some surgeons. So I reached out to one of them, Solange. Shout out to Solange and Bayard, and she gave me some incredible intel on what it's like to be a surgeon. And we would go over, especially for the first few scripts, what was being asked of me, what the kind of knowledge I'm meant to have, the things that I'm learning in the room. That was so helpful. And then also I got to hop into the very last day of boot camp. There was a medical boot camp that the main 10 doctors had 2 weeks of. And then I was like, can I get in there? I'd love to, get whatever knowledge, foundational knowledge, to feel secure in what I'm doing, because we're playing pretend, but if it's helpful to feel like you have that support of knowledge underneath you to,
Oh, yeah.
not make you look like a farce.
I gotta say, when you say you're not in the top 10, that does not play that way, and I'm not just saying it. Like your roles are memorable, your scenes are memorable, and I'm sure they'll expand it out for future seasons. Let me ask you about food on set. It's a food show, so we got to talk about it. How the hell do you eat food after? I know it's fake. It's obviously you're not using real blood. But
it looks so real.
It looks so real. What's that like?
It's so funny. I never really counted myself as a squeamish person, but the prosthetics team and makeup team on the pit are absolutely top notch. We often have to remind ourselves that this stuff is fake. But the way that I'm eating in advance of, a long day on set is kind of, I have to balance it out with good proteins and good vegetables. I try not to overeat because then I'll just be in a food coma and not have the energy to, allow my brain to say all these really, high paced medical jargon lines. So it's a balancing act. But when I walk in and I see, for instance, the burn victim, I'm forgetting which episode number that was, but I remember walking in and being like, holy, and I have to just kind of, be calm and composed. And And also, I know based on the stats that I'm given pretty quickly in that scene that this patient isn't going to make it, likely isn't going to make it. And me as Alex, I'm, a very empathetic person. And seeing that, I was just like, oh my God, I have to cover. I have to cover because Garcia is just doing her job and can't get emotional. But that was a particularly tough one to see.
Yeah, and
full body.
And so after that scene, you have to take a break. And then what's craft service looking like on set? What are we talking about?
Oh
man,
Crafty's good. Crafty takes care of us. They do a whole bunch of different things. They'll have different ethnic cuisines. Some days it'll be Asian inspired. Some days it'll be Latin. Sometimes it's just good old fashioned barbecue. And they really do a great job. Both Crafty and catering, phenomenal.
So let me ask you, you also are an actor of the stage and you've done many productions on stage. So when you're filming television, film or stage, how do you balance the eating? Because especially for stage, if it's like a long production and you have to, do the lines, as an actor, you don't want to be and nothing should be coming up. And so you got to have a real sense of your diet. How do you balance that?
Like I said, I think what's funny because even though the pit's on television, there is a very stage-like kind of format to the way that we work, because when you're on set, you're pretty much staying on set until you finish a scene. And often because it's shot chronologically, they'll tether scenes together if it makes sense to, okay, they're coming out of trauma 1 and they're walking into this this space right here. We're just going to shoot it all as one shot or one scene. So I often have to just feed myself and be prepared to have that meal sustain me through a much longer time than you would normally need to on a television set. And I think that it took me some time to figure that out for myself. That was a definite part of my learning curve in this experience, because I've never been on set this often. This is my first really big job. And so A, I'm trying to do my best. And then B, I'm trying to take care of myself. And it just was something that I had to figure out for myself. So I often would wake up early in the morning. If we had a 5:00 call, I'd wake up at 3:30 and start prepping my meals for myself. Even though catering and crafty was so phenomenal, I couldn't necessarily eat everything that was being served, or I would, learn in a unfortunate way that some of the things just make you feel lethargic, and you got to just not go towards those things the next time they're served. So I would prep my own little meals and then kind of suss out what was being served that day.
That seems like the very smart professional way to do it, because I don't know about having a big rack of ribs for an actor.
Right. End of day. If I'm wrapped for the day, then I am filling up on this good food.
What about for the stage? You're doing the production every day, 4 weeks at a time. Do you have any food rituals before? I know the stage is all about traditions and superstitions, and it's baked into your profession. What do you think about that way?
Well, look, I grew up on hot cereal, so oatmeal is still a staple in my home. And my husband and I are often making that as our backup. If we're just we don't have time for, eggs and sweet potato home fries or all that good stuff, it's oatmeal. So it's oatmeal mixed with a protein powder and, some blueberries, some nut butter, some nuts. And I'm eating right until I start to feel full, right before I start to feel full. You don't want to eat to the point that you're full already. Our bodies often they trigger different reactions in you that you'll realize, okay, I should leave myself hungry a little bit so that I can run through this entire run of the show, of the, whatever play we're doing on stage, and then leave feeling hungry so that I can fulfill that meal later. But I like the feeling of being a little bit hungry in the work, not terribly hungry.
Yeah.
Just, it just drives you in a way that it's helpful.
And you've got the adrenaline pumping, so that's going to have some stimulation about your appetite.
You don't want to be digesting too much on stage. I mean, rest and digest is something you want to do again after you've finished a long, hard day.
Yeah, well, it's really cool hearing about some behind the scenes for this great show. And again, it's The Pit. You got to check it out. It's streaming now. What's next for you? Do you have any stage roles booked, or I don't know if they've renewed it. I don't know
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
can
yeah. We got
say.
renewed some months ago. So season 2, they're currently in the writers' room, and that'll be really exciting. And in the meantime, I am just at home taking care of myself, taking care of the dogs. And also, I'm really involved in my theater company here in Los Angeles. It's called Public Assembly. And we have one show a month. Actually, we have a show tonight. It's always the last Thursday of the month. And
Oh,
we're a
wonderful.
501(c)(3), and anyone who's been in the audience at least once before is eligible to submit a premise to then write and develop that one act in that 1 month's time. So it's a very involved process, and we get to work with artists from varying levels of experience, and it's super, super gratifying.
So, what's tonight's production? What's going on in this?
The theme of tonight is it's only okay when you're a kid. And that's a theme that got shouted out by one of the audience members at the end of last month's show. That's what we chose. I'm one of the curators for this month. And so we have 3 amazing one acts, and they're all centered around that theme.
I will definitely have to check it out during my next trip to LA. I feel like the LA theater scene is remarkably strong. Here in New York, we have so much amazing theater. But give LA theater a plug, for real.
Oh, man. It really is amazing. I'm going to see plays maybe like 3 to 4 times a week at least. And people often find that surprising, but certainly we're not on the scale of New York's theater scene, but there is a really robust, thriving theater scene, and it's only growing. And, what we do as Public Assembly is it's kind of different in the sense that it feels like community theater being reinvented. And I think that's also created a spark in people that they've now realized like theater can be a lot more than just the traditional idea of theater that most people are familiar with.
Yeah, well said. And really, I try to see theater in LA when I can because it really is remarkable. Alexandra, on This Is Taste, we ask guests about their certain tastes. So to close this interview, here's a little rapid fire, fast and furious taste check. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. The best fruit.
Mango, but especially when it's sun ripened and picked directly from a tree. If you've never had that experience, go down to Mexico and have it immediately.
Yeah. Oh, what a good sentiment. The worst vegetable.
I don't think
There's
is
gotta be one. All right. I know.
No, it's all in how you prepare the ingredients, and that's on the chef.
It's on the chef. Fair enough. I'll let you take that one. That's good. Outside of oatmeal, do you have a typical breakfast?
Oh, yeah. So something called mango, which in Dominican culture, it's a plantain that's been boiled and mashed. It's kind of like a potato, but it's wonderful. You top it with sauteed onions that are kind of pickled and sauteed, and with pepper sometimes. And then you can have that with a side of whatever you want. Like in Dominican Republic, it's like fried eggs, fried cheese, and sausage. But at home, we keep it kind of simpler with just eggs and avocado.
That sounds amazing. Wow.
It's so good.
So
it's so
good.
Sustaining, too.
Which farmer's market do you hit?
The Larchmont one, it's closest.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The best dessert.
God, no.
I know.
You can't make me choose. Okay. Well, I love desserts that are not too sweet. I'm a fan of just like a subtle sweet. But I love creme brulee, panna cotta, anything with egg flan, a good bread pudding. You can't make me choose. I'll keep talking.
Yeah,
good
you're like
pie,
going off. You're
anything
going off here.
anything with dark chocolate.
Your favorite city in the world to visit for food?
Oh, that's so hard. I'd have to say Oaxaca.
Yeah.
Oaxaca is a great one. I love mole. They make mole, I think, like 30 different ways. And you don't know that until you're actually in Oaxaca, where mole is born. And also, beyond the mole, they've just got such incredible food.
Oh, well, yeah, good plug for Oaxaca. Do you make it down there a bit?
I've been there twice in my life, and it's funny. It's really popping off. People are starting to find out that it's wonderful. It's like the new Mexico City is where everyone used to go all the time. And I love Mexico City so much. But Oaxaca is a little bit further off the beaten path, and I highly recommend.
Last one, your favorite sandwich?
If you know Wax Paper here in Los
Oh,
Angeles,
yeah,
they
totally.
have 2 locations. I specifically love almost all of their sandwiches at the Chinatown location, which shut down during the pandemic, and they've kind of, shut down, come back, shut down, but they're finally back, and you should definitely check it out. All of their sandwiches are incredible, but I love the Chinatown.
Good plug for Wax Paper. I think it's a great spot. I've been able to have a sandwich there. That's
Yeah,
great.
they have this vegetarian one that it's like I can eat any of the sandwiches, but I'm so blown away by the vegetarian one. It just got all these unexpected flavors, and it's so delightful.
Alexander Metz, thank you so much for joining This Is Taste.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
This Is Taste is hosted and produced by Eliza Barbanel and me, Matt Rodbard. The show is edited by lead producer Clayton Gumbert and supervised by Pat Stango, Director of Media Production and Development at Penguin Random House. Thanks to Shalia Harris and the production team at Penguin Random House. Theme music by Steve Rydell. Logo and guest illustrations by Ellie Skurzat. Visit Taste online at tastecooking.com and make sure to subscribe to our newsletter to keep updated on all cool things in the world of taste.